Armour in Destiny 2, aside from weapons and abilities, is the next most important tool in fleshing out our builds with various combat mods, be it for PvE or PvP, our fashion game, and the stats that fuel our cooldowns. Since year 3, the current system is relatively unchanged, apart from some quality of life adjustments we've had along the way. Hi, it's Pigeon. In today's video, I want to take a look at Destiny 2's armour system and the ways it needs to evolve in order to keep chasing armour relevant in our perpetual loot chase. Let's start back in year 1. It seems finding pictures from year 1 sets is nigh and impossible, but looking back, our armour rolled with random stats. Each class had stats weighted towards their intrinsic strength, i.e. hunters tended to have more mobility, titans resilience, and warlocks had more base recovery. The armour itself had 2 stat boosts you could choose between, an elemental affinity, which if you masterworked would grant a percentage resist against that element, and a power slot where you could add a +5 to your overall light level. Year 2 brought in our first armour overhaul that saw our pieces drop with random roll perks, which were similar to the mods we use today. As well as this, all the classes had access to higher base stat rolls not regular to their class. You could finally have high resilience hunter sets or high mobility warlock sets if you were lucky, but as far as builds went, you were at the mercy of RNG. Year 3 and Shadowkeep launches the Armour 2.0 system. Our armour was given elemental affinities, open slots to put mods in, which if you earned enough masterwork prisms and ascendant shards would open up to 10 slots. We also had discipline, strength and intellect added back into the game as stats that dictated our cooldowns for grenade, melee and supercharges, or for classes' core stat determine our class ability cooldowns, i.e. mobility for hunters, resilience for titans and recovery for warlocks. Since then, we've seen various quality of life changes. Armour affinities were the bane of many players' existence, as you needed an armour piece to have the matching element for certain mods. In particular, weapon mods such as finders or scavengers were all locked behind certain affinities. I'm looking at you, Void Lunafaction boots. Bungie eventually consolidated many mods into universal mods at slightly higher costs, as well as adding a method to change the affinity, which again at the time cost materials, including as much as 3 ascendant shards for exotic armour pieces. Our shader system came a long way too, as not only did it cost Glimmer to slot a shader, they were finite and you would have to pull multiple shaders from collections to complete a set's look. Fast forward to Season of the Splicer during Beyond Light, and the transmog system was released, allowing us to customise our Guardian's look from head to toe, but for a finite amount of pieces. And worse, the method to earn these pieces was so convoluted that we now simply purchase bounties from Ada 1 and complete to obtain a synth piece to forge our armour ornaments. The word synth chord still makes me shudder. Raid armour was drastically improved in this time period too. A unique raid mod slot was added for each raid set which could house that raid's unique mods. Things like Taken Resist and the Last Wish raid were really useful. Sadly, these have been power crept out of use, as well as being tied to older content. Even the current raid mods are irrelevant, as they don't really augment our capabilities much compared to our base armour. Let's return to the present, and since Witch Queen launched, we've been presented with 2 seasonal armour sets for Season of the Risen and Season of the Haunted, as well as some incredibly easy methods of stat focusing through the Ghost Armourer mods and Umbral Engram focusing at the helm. The Season of the Risen set allows for more psychogenic intel from completing activities. This material was spent on the second chest from completing the PsyOps missions. Season of the Haunted had a direct copy of this idea, except it increases the Vestiges of Dread drop percent. The problem is, these material gains offer very little impact on the overall accumulation of resources. This season alone, I've spent maxed out in Vestiges of Dread, even with the helm upgrade, and I've all but abandoned the set originally focused. Now enter Artifice Armour. Artifice Armour currently drops throughout the master versions of Grasp of Avarice and the Duality Dungeon. This armour houses an additional artifact mod slot, which allows you to put in any mod from the current season's artifact, freeing up space in the main slots. Using a Ghost Armourer mod when farming these pieces tends to yield high stat splits, and by the time you've locked in multiple affinities on key artifact pieces such as arms, legs and your class item, you're all set. Solstice launched as the in-game event during Season of the Haunted, and despite the event's flaws, we've been able to focus and reroll armour as we see fit, with potential for 30-30 splits. I do suggest watching Fallout Play's video on the triple 100 builds here, but after it's said and done, the Artifice Armour still comes out on top. Solstice Armour had the opportunity to include an intrinsic perk to set it apart from the more powerful option found in Artifice sets. Looking ahead, I'm worried that the next season will bring a new set of armour to chase, where the only added benefit is currency gains for that season. Sure, it's nice to have a little extra to get those early season drops, but once they're done with, or even when approaching endgame activities, it has no real use. We need new interesting ways to engage with seasonal armour sets without offsetting power creep. Fade armor mods need more flavour added to them to really make it meaningful to rock up with the designated gear on to be used over and over again. I dare say, back in the days of Gambit Prime, the sets tied to those activities actually had a chance at impacting the outcome of the match. Armours came a long way since year 1, but for the current system, I fear it may get stale after you've re-rolled your 4th seasonal armour set or locked in a full set of Artifice gear already. As a quick suggestion, why not tie in armour effects to the seasonal weapons? It could be something as simple as reduced flinch for PvP, faster reloads, deeper weapon reserves. Whatever it may be, we need more ways to engage with our seasonal armour more than just currency gains. As it stands, Artifice Armour is the most powerful sets in the game. Until we have more beneficial effects added to our seasonal armour, it's likely they're going to be left in the vault or deleted. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, as well as a thumbs up for today's video, a quick subscription for more Destiny 2 content, and I'll see you in the next one.